again. Here we are back again for building block number 11, which is the Make One Increase. And we're going to create this very cute little sort of mock cable pattern utilizing the Make One Increase. It's a very simple increase to do. The instructions are here, and I will demonstrate that when we get to our first Make One instruction, which will be on row 3. Once again on this block, we have a setup row that is worked only once, after which we continue with row 2, and then on the next pass through the body repeats, we'll go back to row 1, meaning that we'll work the setup row, row 2, 3, 4, then go back to row 1. Those repeats will be executed 14 times plus one additional row ending after a row 1. Before then, doing a decrease row and the top border. As usual, I have gone ahead and already worked the bottom border. I am ready to now do the setup row that is worked just that one time. I will go ahead and demonstrate how to do that. It's very simple. We're just doing one purl front and back increase, which you have seen many times before. Again, working those 4 stitches for the seed stitch border. Oops, getting all twisted here. All right, and then having worked those 4 border stitches, we're going to increase 1 stitch in the body with a purl front and back. So again, I'm coming in the front of the stitch just like I normally would, wrapping my yarn, pulling it through, not pulling the stitch off of my needle, but turning around, coming in through the back of that stitch. Hopefully you can see that there. Coming in the back of the stitch, again wrapping my yarn and pulling it through. And I will have created 2 stitches from where there was 1 stitch before, increasing my total count by 1 stitch. All right, and then it's just purling across the entire row. Row 2 is very simple. Knit 5, purl 1, knit 5, repeating all the way across. And then we'll come back for row 3, during which I will demonstrate the Make One increase. Okay, so I've already worked 2 repeats of the body pattern. You can kind of see these little crossed over mock cable knot type things that are starting to happen on a background of reverse stockinette. I have just completed a row 2, so I am ready to complete my 3rd repeat of row 3. Row 3 is the row in the body pattern that includes the Make One instruction. Make One is just another way to create a stitch it's an alternative to a yarn over that creates a stitch, but a Make One will not leave a hole. As you can see here, there's no holes, and then where the stitches come together, it's because in row 4, to compensate for those 2 created stitches for every one of these columns, we purl 3 together to get rid of those 2 created stitches in row 3. So I'm just going to quickly work those 2 rows so that I can show you both how the Make One instruction works and how the purl 3 will go, even though it's relatively self-explanatory. You purl 3 stitches together. But I'll still demonstrate that just so everything is clear. Again, our 4 seed stitch border stitches. Then we purl 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to make 1. The instructions for the make 1 say to take your left needle tip and put it through the strand that kind of bridges the 2 stitches. This is the working yarn from the previous row. However, I like to take my right needle tip to lift that strand, and then I put it on my left needle tip. Again, it's just like my left needle tip going through it from front to back, as the instructions say. I'm just helping myself a little bit there. And then I come in through the back of the stitch and knit it through the back of the loop. Alright, then we knit 1, then make 1. Again, I'm lifting that strand, bringing my left needle tip through from the front of my work toward the back of my work, coming in through the back of that stitch, wrapping my yarn and pulling it through. In the process of doing that, you're creating a little twist in that strand, and that is what pretty well closes up any gaps that are going to occur. You can kind of see, you know, there's a little bit of a gap that happens. It's going to be covered up by this cable when we finish up and block everything, so you definitely won't notice it. Not at all like a yarn over. Then purl 5, make 1, lift it up, knit through the back, knit 1, make another one, purl 5, make 1. Again, I'm going to lift it with my right needle tip just because that makes it a little easier for me to get my left needle in there, come in through the back, wrap and pull it through. Knit 1, another make 1. Gonna bring my left needle tip through from front to back, bring my right needle tip through the back of the stitch. Normally when we knit we go through this way, but this time we're twisting that strand to close the hole. Alright, purl 5, make 1 again. Again, I'm coming in. You can see, I'm going to try and exaggerate this. How when I come in through the back, I am creating a twist in this strand that closes any hole that might occur. If I went in this way, like I would to normally knit a stitch, it would create a big hole because essentially that's a yarn over. I'm just using the row below to create the yarn over. So that is not what we're doing. Instead, we're coming up and through and twisting that stitch. Can you see there how it's twisting when I make 1? Knit 1, do that again, purl 5, make 1, knit 1, make 1. I'm being careful here not to split my yarn strand, so sometimes I'll put my needle tip in, take it back out, go in again, because even though it may not be showing up on the camera, I can feel that I'm splitting the strand and that is not something I want to do. Got it? So you can see how 3 stitches are now coming up from this column that was just 1 knit stitch before. I'm finishing out with my purl 5. And working my 4 seed stitch border stitches. Now I'm going to flip it for row 4. Again, work my border stitches. 5. And it becomes very easy to see this pattern emerge. You almost don't even need to count your stitches because you know you've got these 5 knit stitches here on the reverse side. Then we're going to purl these 3 stitches together, taking them from 3 stitches back down to 1. And to do that, I'm just going to go in, right needle tip goes through all 3, wrap the yarn, pull it out. There we go. That's all there is to that. I'll just show that once more quickly, and then you should have what you need to go ahead and finish this block. You just repeat these 4 rows 14 times. Again, I'm going to go through all 3 stitches, making sure not to split any of my strands. If I do, I just back out, go back in, wrap, and pull through. All right, that's to reduce our number of stitches back down. All right, if you understand how to do that, then the rest of this block should be really simple. And excuse me, I will come back in when it's time to do our decrease row at the top of the block. Okay, so here is my block. I have completed 14 repeats of those 4 body rows. You can see that because of the 14 little crossover points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I then completed one last row 1. I then did the decrease row right up until those last 2 body stitches. I'll demonstrate that one last knit 2 together decrease, which is just taking these 2 stitches, going through both of them knitwise, wrap and knit. Then the last 4 border stitches. And then it's just a matter of working that top border and binding off. Okay, there is finished block number 11. You can see how I've just sort of, after wetting it in some tepid water with Eucalyptus, I went ahead and stretched it out to the taped off dimensions on my foam mat and pinned it out so that it will dry exactly to size and ready to seam in with the other blocks. All right, that's it. Next up, our last block, block 12.